Alright, so as usual, let's learn a little bit about this from Wikipedia. So the Soryu is Japanese for blue dragon, possibly green dragon. And it was first launched in 1935, and it finally was scuttled in 1942 at the Battle of Midway. This thing played a role in all the major battles, like Pearl Harbor. Well, that wasn't a battle, that was a sneak attack. But also, naturally, the Battle of Midway, but also Wake Island. Okay, so let's see. The thing was around 19,000 tons. It was 228 or so, around 228 meters long. The width was around 21 meters. And then the thing could go 34 knots, which is around 63 kilometers per hour or 39 miles per hour. Alright, so that's what we have here. This is a real photo of the thing, and then here's a model kit. So you can see it's really long and slender, being an aircraft carrier. And now we have this Fujimi, which is quite comical. Things actually shifted because the propellers and the rudder are taller than the hull, which really makes no sense. Okay, so build-wise, I only used the 2 flag stickers. The other ones I used the decals because they're just better. The thing's 3-dimensional. Spare parts wise, you do have a few, which is nice. These little things that go on the side, I broke this one in half, but did glue it back together. So they're really fragile. There's an extra lifeboat, a couple of extra anchors, and guns and stuff. And then here are the planes, which I painted and then clear coated because the decals will fall off very easily. Alright. So now looking at the actual ship. So yeah, the hull is weird in the fact that it doesn't sit flat. It's actually not a flat bottom hull. This might be the first one I have that doesn't actually have a flat bottom. That's Japanese for Soryu. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. There were some plastic pieces you can put as cross members in this hull, but I've come to learn that you shouldn't put those pieces in because they just cause stress marks. So I don't have too many stress marks except for right here where I test fitted a piece. The red plastic stresses out very easily. I did glue the propellers on because they're going to fall off pretty easily. The rudders are a good friction fit though. Almost everything's a friction fit, but I glue some parts just in case. So this is a really cool aircraft carrier. This was designed as an aircraft carrier, so it wasn't built on top of a battleship or a cruiser like some other Japanese carriers. But you have to be really mindful with the instructions. All of these columns here, they're different because the hull has curvature to it, right? So you gotta be really careful. In fact, this one kind of popped out. Boy. There we go. So you gotta pay close attention. You might not want to trim those off the molding runners until you need them. That's what I did. Okay, you probably want to glue in the anchors. They will swivel around if you don't, and they might fall out. There's a little gold here for the Japanese emblem there. And then this little flagpole is really delicate, and you want to put that in before you put these pieces in here that kind of trap it in place. You'll see on this side it's asymmetric. This one has a searchlight on this side, and also the 2 exhausts are coming out here. It's also got some big cannons, interesting. So the island here, it's a couple of layers. I did glue it together. And then I put some black Tamiya panel liner for all the little windows. And in the back here we have some lifeboats and stuff like that, which are neat. Now I do want to warn you, it's quite a miracle. I've done this 2 times now, putting these decals on. These 3 lines and this whole thing here is 1 decal starting from here and ending here. So this is all 1 decal. And this is clear decal here. But the decal is so thin that it's almost invisible, which is great. But you have to be mindful. It's being so thin, it's a very delicate decal. This was actually, these 2 lines, this whole mess here and that dotted line were 1 decal, but there's no way you're going to lay that on properly, so I ended up cutting it right here and made it 2 decals. It'll be a lot easier that way. And then this red and white striping is a different decal as well. So after I put the decals on with Mark Fitter, I used some softener to try to get it into those crevices, and I think it worked out pretty well. Okay, so Now these 5 tall things, and I don't know, 10, I don't think they're antenna, I think they're arresting cables. Like they might lay cables across to catch the airplanes or something like that. But anywho, they can pivot, but they're so fragile, I wouldn't recommend it. If you really have to make them pivot, I would maybe recommend grabbing the bottom and then pivoting it that way. But you could theoretically have them all horizontal. I'm actually probably going to remove them because I have to ship this back home. But so delicate, and they're quite painful to put in. I ended up putting them on horizontal and then squeezing them with tweezers to snap them in. They're like a half circle here. You can actually see the bottom of it. It's not a complete circle. So it's like a C shape that clips onto a little peg that's running across that gap. But very delicate. You drop this model, those are definitely going to break. Okay, well, you could pose these little range finders or sight, I don't know what those are really called, sighting things. You could rotate them a little bit. You can even rotate all these guns, but I don't see a need to. Okay, so I guess that's it. I'm not showing you with the planes, of course. So I'm going to put those on at the very end. Size comparison wise though, here is a Kaga aircraft carrier. Now the Kaga, I believe, was built on top of a battleship hull, which is why the Kaga has battleship cannons still on it. And you can kind of see, you know, it's a battleship down here, but they just put platforms on top of it. So it is a much taller and bigger aircraft carrier. I'm not sure if you can tell, but maybe if I tilt them this way, it's just a bigger carrier. It seems longer, a little wider perhaps as well. Okay, and so one last one is just a battleship. This is the Fuso. And so, yeah, naturally the battleship is a lot shorter, its deck, because that's what it is. So very cool stuff, these Fujimis. I really like them quite a bit. I decided to just put one of each plane on there. I know the first one's a 0. I forget what the other two are, D4Y and some other plane. They're the same planes that came on the Kaga. I just painted them a little bit differently. Alright, well, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next Fujimi build.